Ladies and gentlemen, this is my argument. If not because of their white skin, and I'm referring to the white South Africans, the rest of black South Africans would have never treated them differently or referred to them as non-South Africans, even if they had done exactly the same things the apartheid folks did to them. Let me rephrase what I said. Are white South Africans South Africans? There is a prevalent notion among black South Africans that white South Africans, who are indeed descendants of slavers and merchants from Europe, are not Africans. This introductory description alone may suggest that they are not Africans. But there is another side of this story based on historical facts that may open up the discussion into the true state of white South Africans as we've known them in South Africa. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Cyrus from Ghana, and welcome to my channel. Be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell for more of my contents. Let's talk. Are white South Africans true South Africans? And are they Africans? Many black South Africans have the shortest answer to this question, which is no. And that is almost true. But let's just take a look at this short history lesson and then come back to answer this same question. Historically, ladies and gentlemen, the first group of Europeans to land in the southernmost part of Africa were the Portuguese in 1488. That was more than 160 years before the next group of Europeans will come around. We are talking about at least 2 lifetime intervals. So the Portuguese came in 1488 and the Dutch arrived around 1654 and established a permanent settlement in that area. Now, let's pause and read through this list quickly. This is the list of kingdoms that existed in that whole territory in order of times of establishment, from the 11th century to the 19th century, starting with the oldest kingdom in the southern African area. The first kingdom in that area was the kingdom of Mapungubwe, found from the 11th century to the 13th century, ladies and gentlemen. The second kingdom was the kingdom of Great Zimbabwe, from the 11th to the 15th century. Then we have the kingdom of Soto Tuana together, followed by the Zulu kingdom established in the late 18th century. Then the different sects of the Xhosa kingdoms were established. Same applied to the kingdom of Tuana alone, this time without Soto. Then followed the Venda kingdom and then Basotho kingdom, which was established by King Moshosho around the 19th century. Ladies and gentlemen, that whole land was indeed inhabited by the indigenous kingdoms and tribes scattered all over the place before the Europeans showed up. But just like in my home country, Ghana, they were ununited and not a country yet. It was tribes and kingdoms at this point. Historically, what was a common practice around this era was migration for economic and security reasons. And this is the key to unlock who is who in the Africa we have today. Because, ladies and gentlemen, many tribes and people continually moved around for the reasons provided above. Take, for instance, in Ghana, the Ga people at the southern coast in the capital city of Accra migrated from Nigeria in the 15th century for survival reasons to their current location in Accra, Ghana. The Ewes, currently along the Volta River in Ghana from 15th to 17th century, moved all the way from Togo and Dahomey in the southern Benin Republic to their current location in Ghana. But today, we are one people under one republic as Ghanaians. Nobody is interested in reminding any group or tribe of people where they have come from and all of that. And I can promise you this, ladies and gentlemen, that whenever you get an ancestry DNA test for your own self, as a black person, you will be blown away by where your ancestors may have come from. Today you may say that you are a South African, or from this tribe or from that tribe, but your ancestors may have come from Zimbabwe or Eswatini or Mozambique. Ladies and gentlemen, the only difference between slave trade and migration is that the former is forced to move, but the latter moved on their own. And apart from this fact, their destinations have always been accepted as their homes until recently. Now, in the case of white South Africans, which I think their rightful description could also be white Africans, they moved freely on their own and settled in that part of Africa. Yep, it's been 370 years this year since the first ship from the Netherlands docked at the coast of South Africa. That's 35 years late from when the first slave ship from the Gold Coast, now Ghana, left Africa to Europe and the Americas. Now, that 370 years is older than when some of the tribes in South Africa today arrived in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my argument. If not because of their white skin, and I'm referring to the white South Africans, the rest of black South Africans would have never treated them differently or referred to them as non-South Africans, even if they had done exactly the same things the apartheid folks did to them. Let me rephrase what I said. What I mean is this: the only reason many black South Africans, not all of them though, but many, refer to the white South Africans as foreigners and that kind of stuff, is not only because of the segregation and the racism in their own country, but basically because of the color of their skin. This is because in history, different stronger tribes have always conquered and suppressed and abused smaller tribes, but we have always found ways to live together today because of the similarities of our skin. So this is what I'm saying: if you put aside the color of people's skin for a minute and deal with people according to their character, you will realize that all people have been enslaved. All people have been enslaved by other people at some point in time. I'm talking about stronger black tribes enslaving weaker black tribes even before the white arrived. South Africa has come a long way. Many of the people who actually experienced what happened before 1994 are either old or dead and gone. The future is still unknown and full of opportunities and also uncertainties. We try to remember our ancestors from time to time and honor them, but we have a future to build, and there's so much we can all achieve together. I think it's about time people begin to recognize people for who they are and not for who their parents or ancestors were. Same thing is happening today in America and in many places where the race card is being played. And unfortunately, the only thing we get from it is suspicions, which leads to unnecessary profiling, and then it leads to mistrust, and it grows into fear, and then the division is deepened. South Africa is a beacon of hope, not only for Africa but for the world, in terms of having a multiplicity of races living in one country. That is where you find it in Africa. It is the exact version of America in Africa, but on a smaller scale. This is where I literally saw every type of person living in one place, from blacks to Indians to whites to Asians and to other smaller races living together. The focus should be on what will unite the people for a common goal at all times. Call them white Africans or call them whatever names, but deal with them and develop your country, because they aren't going anywhere. In fact, they don't even know where to go, because they will be visitors to their own ancestral homes, just as blacks in America are going nowhere today. So I'll conclude by saying this: white South Africans, or what I call white Africans, are Africans, because after all, the term African encompasses all people born or living in Africa, regardless of their ethnicity or race. So there is more to gain in unity than when divided. And don't ask me why I like talking about South Africa. I talk about many other countries, including Ghana and Nigeria. And I have lived in South Africa and have too many friends in South Africa, and not to talk about South Africa. Instead, you can criticize me if I say anything that is not factual. That is totally acceptable. But I'll end here for now, and be sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell for more of my videos. And thank you for watching in full. Until I come your way again, God bless you, and it's bye-bye for now.